Welcome Jacquie Jordan, Emmy-nominated television producer, author of Get on TV, and the recent book Heartfelt Marketing, Allowing the Universe to Be Your Business Partner, founder of TVGuestpert.com.
Hi, I'm Jacquie Jordan, hosted here by TVGuestpert.com. We're the industry talk show with the experts, and it is Super Bowl weekend. If you're driving home with us tonight, we also repeat here tonight at 10 p.m. and it's Sunday, which is going to be Super Bowl Sunday, at 5 p.m. on AM 1290, the Santa Barbara News Press Radio. You could also find us on the homepage of TVGuestpert.com. We're also seen on Blip TV. And if you want to friend us, you can join us on Facebook at Jacquie Jordan Inc., TVGuestpert.com. Today's show is sponsored by the non-pharmaceutical hologram chip that helps you sleep at night and gives you energy during the day, which is the wristband. That's cx2wristband.com. That's cx2wristband.com. And if you're tired driving home today, I recommend you check us out at cx2wristband.com. So today is Super Bowl weekend, and the Black Eyed Peas are going to be the halftime show, that's the interest in the draw for me. It's the commercials and the halftime show. It is not the football game at all. And I just have to say that I am one of those chicks, those women, those girls who did not get the sports DNA code at all. But my guest this hour did get that DNA code. And joining us on the phone is Bonnie Jill Laflin. She's the first and only female scout in the NBA. And she is equally tough, smart, brilliant, and gorgeous. Bonnie, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Good. How are you, Jacquie? Thanks for having me.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. I know these are probably some of these questions are like, you probably get these questions all the time, but are women taken seriously, especially in your position in sports?
See, that's the problem. We have a lot of people, especially some women in our industry, who sometimes cross the line, or they don't always obtain the most professionalism that they can. Sometimes it makes it hard for women like me who are serious and professional in our industry, and so that's why we constantly are jumping over hurdles to, make sure that people respect us and that we gain that credibility.
I'm going to be really honest. This whole show is literally talking out of my own league. But however, sports is a huge part of the media industry. It's and obviously this weekend, being that it's Super Bowl weekend, is a huge media event on top of a sports event. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you do, especially for folks like me?
I'm a sports broadcaster and also a scout, and I'll be going actually down the Super Bowl, and I'll be actually doing a radio show as well for Radio Row, and then also working for a bunch of other networks in Dallas, the Cowboys Network, and Fox Sports, and a couple other people out there. So it's, like you said, it's not just about the game. It's a full media blitz with just different celebrities and events and parties and charity events and golf tournaments. It's the whole 9 yards.
I could only imagine. Do you face discrimination in your job or in your role?
Yeah, it's like it's anything. It's like a woman, that you got to work, so much harder, to always have people do and understand how hard you have to work to gain, people to understand that it's, we're just like men, we've got the same drive, but yet people still think that, it's a woman, she can't do this, she can't do that, and so that's why you're always jumping hurdles to let people know, no, I can do this, and I will do this, and I'll do it even better.
and like I said, because I didn't get the sports DNA code, but you go out and put athletes into the NBA. You pick who the good players are, who for the Lakers. You've done it for the Lakers.
Exactly. So I actually go and scout.
So you have to, know the game. I mean, you know a lot. You know the game. You know skill. You know potential. You know athletic ability. I mean, you know a lot to be able to do that.
And it's, like I said, me coming from a different path than other scouts. I came from a background. If I was a cheerleader in the NBA, cheerleader in the NFL, sports broadcaster, model, actress, and so I took a different path. And so I have, I'm always getting people saying, she doesn't know what she's doing, and she's not knowledgeable, and so forth. And then they realize, they start talking sports, and I'm like, wait a second, a pretty girl can know sports too. And I'm like, yes, it can happen, yes.
It's so funny. Stephanie Cobian is our show producer for the show, and she really wanted us to do the show. She's a big sports, she knows all about sports. And and just in our conversation with her, I said to her, getting ready, I said, well, do guys sometimes give you a hard time or a pushback because you're talking sports with them? And it was just an interesting conversation. She said, yeah, sometimes, she gets pushed back just in her knowledge and her interest in her conversation. But there's, I just saw a commercial that they're, launching a clothing line for women. And for the NFL is launching, and you have a sports clothing line.
Yes, it's called Double Play Sportswear, and it's actually for the NBA. And it's basically women want to look cute when they're going to the games, they're watching, basketball or football or so forth. But their boyfriend, they want to look cute, but they don't want to have to wear the big baggy jerseys. So now these are jerseys and different sports T-shirts and everything that's fitted for a woman and very couture and rhinestones and everything.
We love
that girls
that.
like. Yes.
Why can't we have our favorite teams, and a little bling?
Exactly. See, so it's perfect for a woman. And our line is very Fred Siegel, very, couture. So it makes the woman feel very sporty, but yet still very feminine.
It's the Super Bowl weekend to me is akin to the Academy Awards weekend. It's got the same, the pre-parties, the build-up, the way they do the packages on the news stories, which I happen to actually like. The one thing I could say about sports television is I love the backstories about the athletes and their, how they milk how they got there. I love that part of it, the actually storytelling part of it. But the weekend to me is like the Academy Awards weekend. It has all that same type of buzz, and I don't know if that's how I can relate to it.
Oh, definitely. Like I said, it's more, just like we were saying at the beginning of your show, it's almost like people have now forgot about the game. There's so much more because it starting Monday, where people are down there in Dallas, and they'll be doing media and press conferences and, like I said, different events throughout the whole week all the way till the game. So people almost forget about the game because there's those 6 days leading up to...
And there's also a lot of you deal with and you get to witness a lot of scandals going on, especially having been a scout for the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, there's always stuff that's always going on. Like you said, there's always backstories on different players and this and that. And with the Super Bowl, you definitely get to see more profile pieces on these players and get to know them than just what they do on the field.
I know that Inez Sanchez's story made headlines recently.
Yes, that was something, and obviously Brett Favre as well. And so that's why it's always women always having to work extra hard, because there's women that go out there and make it harder for us.
It's also it's when I was growing up, I grew up with a father who he was always into sports, and so the fact that I didn't get the gene is kind of bizarre. But there were not sports reporters like there female sports reporters like there are now. Especially in the last 10, 15 years.
Definitely.
And this
is your heart. Day, they weren't even allowed in the press room, women.
Exactly. Where do you see yourself going with your career and what your plans are? And I know you're a big activist too. Yeah, I mean, eventually my long-term goal is to own my own team. So running my own team, owning my own team, and having my own sports show like a Jim Rome show, a roundtable show, talking sports, getting to know the players, doing profile pieces, all that kind of stuff. But my ultimate goal is to own my own team. And your passions are the military and animals. Yes, I'm very big into my charities. I have my own 501c3, Hounds and Heroes. It's actually houndsandheroes.com is my website, and it's basically getting back to something I'm passionate about, which is obviously supporting our military. I've done 17 USO tours, including 7 to Iraq and Afghanistan. So that's a big thing with me, supporting our military. And then obviously animal welfare as well. And that's something I'm passionate about as well. So I combine the both of them and give back as much as I can. And did you grow up in a sports family? Yes, I was supposed to be a little boy. And so I was going to every sporting event you could think of since I was 2 years old with my dad. And my dad owned racehorses, so I would go to the track with him. And the first thing I knew how to do was read a racing form and knew how to handicap races before I could do anything else. And then reading the sporting page. And just I was one of those kids that didn't care about the foam finger and the popcorn and candy. I wanted to know what college you go to, how fast you run the 40, all these different things that little girls don't ask. And so my dad knew at a very young age that sports was going to be a part of my life. Wow. And it is, and I love it. And
having fun. I enjoy what I do, and I've made it a career.
Well, that's fantastic. Are you going to be rooting for one team or another this weekend?
Yes, I'm actually rooting for Green Bay. I've never been really a Green Bay fan, but I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. He went to Cal, Berkeley, and I've been following his career since then, and I just love him, and I'd love for him to get that Brett Favre monkey off his back. Packers fans weren't so sure about him, and they just were all about Brett Favre, and now they're saying that this is the new guy in town, and really pulling for him. I'm not a Steelers fan at all, so Packers all the way. I'm a cheesehead this weekend.
I'm a Black Eyed Peas fan, so that's going to be my interest. And we can find out, Bonnie, we can check you out at bonnie-jill.com. And if we want to follow you on Twitter, it's bjlaflin.com, right?
Yes,
and
exactly.
The love for the military and animals is houndsandheroes.com.
Yes,
Bonnie Jill,
correct.
thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you so much.
I'm Jacquie Jordan, presented by tvguestpert.com, and we'll be right back.
Doing what I'm doing.
The Jacquie Jordan Show with host Jacquie Jordan on tvguestpert.com. Radio KZSB, 1290 AM Santa Barbara and worldwide.
Save me from ruin.
Alex Detail was a child genius who saved the world from the evil harvesters. But a decade later, this mysterious alien force has returned, and Alex is no longer a prodigy. Now, in order to save the world again, he must survive his kidnapping, find his evil clone, and get his ship to the planet Pluto, where he will uncover the universe's ultimate power. Alex Detail's Revolution, a thrilling new novel by Darren Campo. Buy online or wherever books are sold.
The Jacquie Jordan Show, presented by tvguestpert.com on News Press Radio KZSB 1290 AM Santa Barbara.
Hi, I'm Jacquie Jordan, hosted here by tvguestpert.com, and we're the industry talk show with the experts. We repeat here tonight at 10 p.m. and Sunday at 5 p.m. And I just wanted to show you real quickly, my new book is out, Heartfelt Marketing, Allowing the Universe to be Your Business Partner. We've been waiting for that for a couple of weeks. And today's show is sponsored by CX2wristband.com. It's the hologram chip that helps you sleep at night and the wristband that gives you energy during the day. And both are non-pharmaceutical, which is what I particularly love. Today we're talking about women in sports, and I will tell you this is a show that I would say I'm inadequate to speak on. But my guests are definitely the experts in the conversation, and it is a big media weekend, one that you kind of can't get by saying you don't know about it. Joining us right now on the phone are two women who actually, we've got Lesley Batson, and she's a fan at Chicks. And then we've got Ida Muorie, who is also been a sports manager and has a very successful talk radio show on sports. Thank you both ladies for joining us. How are you?
Hi, Jacquie. It's so nice to be with you today.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to have you here. Lesley, you're running. It's called Fan at Chicks, right? It's almost like fanatics, but Fanat Chicks.
It's actually, that's right. It's actually pronounced Fanat Chicks, so it's the word fanatics and chicks put together. So
and you're taking the space or creating a community for women fans, which would be like the producer of the show, Stephanie Cobian, because she's a big female sports fan.
Yes, absolutely. I would call her a Fanat Chick. So yes, we're really just creating a community for female sports fans to comment on their favorite topics related to sports and health and fitness as well. And
Ida, your show is called the Sports Mavericks Show. You don't just deal with the women fans. You deal with the whole entire conversation of sports. You just happen to be a female sports advocate and sports person, right?
Well, that's correct, Jacquie. My whole approach to sports reporting is holistic. I look at the whole athlete approach and look for giving not just the numbers, but I deal a lot with the various aspects of an athlete's life, physical, the mental, the social, the spiritual, community, family, relationships.
Got it. So for both of you, you can comment on the fact that there's been an increase in female sportscasters over the past especially in the last 5 years. They're as integrated into the conversation as the male sportscasters. What are your thoughts on that? Especially ESPN and the Fox TV stations.
Well, I really must give kudos to ESPN because they're leading the charge on this. But I've been out here now for almost 7 years, and it's really interesting about whether or not there's a double standard for women. Now, we know that Title IX really ushered in a new era and allowed, female athletes to really get involved in the college sports arena. And that really did push more females to cover female sports because it was still even mostly dominated by males. But I still feel that the voice of a female is so different than a male in sports that it's almost like the last frontier of sports reporting, that women can bring so much because we don't just simply come from a number or an aggressive point to sports. We look at sports more or less like it's more detail. I think we take the details and we really appreciate the details. We don't just simply pull quips out just to say this is what sports is. We look for real, true things that are important, I think, to the athlete and to their families. And I think that's the difference. I guess you want to say it's more of the mother wit that we bring to the table.
And that's kind of what you're saying when you take a holistic approach to your interviews. What are some of the most impactful interviews that you've done on your show, your radio show, Sports Mavericks?
Well, I can tell you I've done quite a few that were very impactful, but I remember one particularly. It's a young man who lost his leg in a boating accident. And he actually he lived actually 2 years later to go back on the baseball mound. But what was important is that all the stories that were written about him never talked about his experience or whether or not he thought he was going to die and whether or not he thought he would ever play again. So it was very gentle, and I say that, my approach to him, because I had to talk to him about the accident, what he felt in those moments, and took him all the way through that experience just for him to not only relive it, but to champion from it. And what I try to do is look at it as a experience for all my guests.
Got it. And you're also related. You have like there's pro athletes in your family bloodline. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, we're pretty much inundated with sports. We are we think we are the most famous football family because we're the only family that had four, relatives playing in the NFL at the same time. But my nephew, Max Starks of the Pittsburgh Steelers, is actually a second generation.
Oh. And
at the age of 27, he has 2 Super Bowls rings, and he also was hoping to get a third one
this weekend.
That next weekend,
next
correct?
Week. Yeah, it'll be this weekend. Yeah, when we were airing. That's absolutely fantastic. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'll ask both of you ladies to stay on the phone. Lesley, I want to know what the 4 types of fanatics there are. So stay with us, and maybe you can answer that when we come back. I'm Jackie Jordan, presented by TVGuestpert.com. We'll be right back.
The Jackie Jordan Show with host Jackie Jordan on TVGuestpert.com. Radio KZSB, 1290 AM, Santa Barbara and worldwide.
Letting go of all I've held on to. I'm standing here until you make me move.
Alex Detail was a child genius who saved the world from the evil harvesters. But a decade later, this mysterious alien force has returned, and Alex is no longer a prodigy. Now, in order to save the world again, he must survive his kidnapping, fight his evil clone, and get his ship to the planet Pluto, where he will uncover the universe's ultimate power. Alex Detail's Revolution, a thrilling new novel by Darren Campo. Buy online or wherever books are sold.
Got time, but I don't mind. Just wanna rock you, girl.
The Jackie Jordan Show, presented by TVGuestpert.com on News Plus Radio KZSB 1290 AM, Santa Barbara.
I like the way you move. Go ahead, girl.
Hi, I'm Jackie George, presented here by TVGuestpert.com and sponsored by CX2wristband.com, the wristband that gives you energy during the day. And I just wanted to say that today's show is about women in sports because it is Super Bowl weekend. And I do know that a lot of professional athletes, including football players, use our sponsors product, the energy chips and the pain chips, because they are non-pharmaceuticals. So they are great for their competitions. Anyway, if you've been listening to the last couple of segments of the show, you know that I do not have the sports gene. So this conversation is above my head, but I am definitely keeping up. I've got two women on the show right now who speak very well about this. It's Lesley Batson, who is the creator of Fanatics.com, which is an aggregator for the female community in sports. And then also I've got Ida Muorie on, who has a radio show called the Sports Maverick Show. Has done, I want to say hundreds is why I'm stumbling there. Is it hundreds? Would that be appropriate, Ida?
Well, I would say I've mentored over 100 athletes, yes.
And radio shows you've done?
And I have about 150 content hours, yes.
That's what I thought. Well, I just wanted to say that other than the Black Eyed Peas this week, and I went to elementary school in Pittsburgh when the Steelers won the Super Bowl in the 70s. And that was like my last connection with big sports activities. Lesley, how do you identify a fanat chick?
Yeah, well, in all of my tweets and messages and commentary, and I get so many emails from different women from around the country and actually around the world who are just so excited about Fanatics.com that I've created a place for us to kind of come together and talk about the things that interest us, which is sports. But I've also learned that there are different types of what I call fanatics. So there's those who are much like how I'd say the male sports fan is. They really know all the stats. They know the history of that team. They know every player who's ever played in that sport. I mean, they just know absolutely everything there is to know about sports. They are the diehard fans, the diehard fanatics.
That I am not. Next.
Yes, and well, really, it's a really special niche market, the female sports fan. And then I've learned that there's really a group of female sports fans who they're really passionate about maybe one or two sports. Maybe it's football, maybe it's basketball, maybe they got into that when they were in college and they started going to the school, that the team was a great football team or it was a great basketball team. So
like my moment in elementary school in Pittsburgh.
Right, exactly. So you've got those who are passionate about maybe one or two sports, and they'll still plan their manicures and pedicures around the game.
And that's not me. That's not me either. Next.
And then you have those fanatics who really have grown into the sport. They've grown to love the sport, and that was maybe because their boyfriend or their husband was always into the sport, and so they kind of went along with it to learn about it. Maybe their kids got into sports, and so they don't know a whole lot, but they certainly could speak intelligently about, one or two sports.
Yeah, I watched my sister grow into that one.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a lot of women in that particular category. And then lastly, the fourth group is really those who I've seen, they kind of come up, they're kind of shy, but because they really don't know much about sports, but they really do have a sincere interest to learn more. So there's really those are the four types of fanatics that I've interacted with.
I always say I'm good at a cocktail party. I can do about 2 minutes on the conversation before my bluff is blown. Ida, you talk about, because you've got family members obviously in the NFL, and how is it important for parents to be involved in the sports decision and the process early on? That's a part of an advocacy, which is part of your message and the holistic approach of what you do on your program.
Well, when you think about sports, next to oil market, it's probably the largest market in the world. And when you have something that big, you have a lot of different entities, can be good, bad, and indifferent. And a lot of them are not necessarily good for the athlete or for the child itself. So early on in sports, you have people who, like the coaches, maybe the first experience that a person actually has with sports itself is what the coach says. that coach takes on a major role, almost a father figure sometimes. Or with a young lady, it may even come on a mother figure. So you got to be very careful about the transfer of those roles, because then the parents will be isolated from the process, and that other individual can have control. And there are sometimes decisions that need to be made during the process that if the parents are involved, they're made a little bit more informed. For instance, what college to go to, or what do you have to do to be eligible, to go to a Division I school, or something may come up in terms of, you want to play but you can't get a scholarship, should you just go and walk on? I mean, and these are things that parents have to be involved in, because if they're not involved in it and then they get lost in the process, if the kid becomes an elite athlete, then there's other people in their lives telling them what to do, and they absolutely don't have that support team. So I think it's important, because myself, I look at it that these athletes generally come in to play sports. They don't come to go to school a lot of times. But when the parents get involved in it, then they become a single goal, education and athletics. And so therefore they're monitoring it, they're making sure they're getting to class, they're making sure that they're doing the things they need to do in order to graduate and not only have something to fall back on, but have a way to make a living if they don't get drafted.
So if a mother is involved, if a mother's involved in this process of the, raising an athletic child, then she falls into number 3, possibly grown to love a sport because her husband or her kids are involved in the sports, which is one of the fanatics qualifications for being a fan. Let me ask both of you: do men find it sexy when women can hold a conversation about sports?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's probably one of the key things that brought my fiance and I together is both of our passions for sports. I think that men perceive a woman to have, it's almost like, it's like the icing on the cake. It's like one other thing with something that he does with his boys, his guy friends that get together and they socialize about sports, but to be able to come home and also have a similar type of interaction with his, wife or girlfriend, whatever it is, I think that they find that extremely attractive.
Do you think that big women athletes that become very successful, do you think that draws more women into the sports arena? I'm thinking of like Venus and Serena in tennis. Do you think that draws more female interest into the process?
Well, from my perspective, as I look at that, I think that the individual sport has to be looked at. For instance, tennis, the process to get to tennis is a very grueling, long-term process. And those who make it into tennis usually are between 13 and 14 years old when they peak sometimes in the sports. So what happens is it takes a lot of money. Golf and tennis are probably the most expensive sports. And they are very difficult to get in. But when you get in them, usually by 13 years old, a lot of the people that are in that sport are gone. The juniors are gone. What Venus and Serena had is that they had a father who mapped this out for them, and he was driven. And being driven, he actually anticipated any issues. The average person that gets into tennis generally gets into tennis particularly as a luxury. It's a luxury sport. Most of the games in high school and college were actually played before in country clubs.
Well, that's really interesting. Changing. That's really interesting because our next guest on the program is a TV Guestpert and a psychologist who does therapy for and consults with a lot of professional sports athletes and also a lot of high performance parents with their kids, so that you bring up a whole interesting point on that. Can I ask both of you ladies, I guess Ida, it's pretty much you're going to be rooting for the Steelers this weekend.
No question. In fact, 3 is a charm. If you go back to the history of the Steelers, they won in 75, they won in 78, we won in 2005, we won in 2008, and 2011. 3 times is a charm.
Ida, you know what? I will never challenge you in a sports conversation ever. And Lesley, who you're going to be rooting for this weekend?
Well, hands down, I will be voting for the Steelers. I am a huge Chicago Bears fan, and the Packers beat my Bears. And granted, they did earn that win last weekend, so I will give it to them. But I will definitely be rooting for the Steelers. I'm not a big fan of the QB, but I do like their coach Tomlin, and I do like Polamalu and some of the other players. So I'll be voting for the Steelers.
I want to thank both of you. It's Fanatics for Chicks Who Dig Sports at fanatics.com. That's for Lesley Batson. And for Ida Muorie, you can find her at voiceamerica.com/sports, or you can Twitter Ida at Ida Muorie at oprahofsports.com. Thank you, ladies, both for being here. Up next, we've got TV Guestpert, Dr. Phil Dembo, to weigh in on his input as well. I'm Jacquie Jordan, presented by TVGuestpert.com, and we'll be right back.
I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round.
The Jacquie Jordan Show with host Jacquie Jordan on TVGuestpert.com. Radio KZSB, 1290 AM Santa Barbara and worldwide.
I just had to let it go.
Alex Detail was a child genius who saved the world from the evil harvesters. But a decade later, this mysterious alien force has returned, and Alex is no longer a prodigy. Now, in order to save the world again, he must survive his kidnapping, fight his evil clone, and get his ship to the planet Pluto, where he will uncover the universe's ultimate power. Alex Detail's Revolution, a thrilling new novel by Darren Campo. Buy online or wherever books are sold.
The Jacquie Jordan Show, presented by TVGuestpert.com on News Press Radio KZSB 1290 AM Santa Barbara.
Hi, I'm Jacquie Jordan, hosted here by TVGuestpert.com. We're the industry talk show with the experts. We repeat here tonight at 10 and Sunday at 5. We are sponsored by CX2wristband.com. It's the wristband that gives you energy during the day, and the holographic sleep chip, non-pharmaceutical chip that gives you helps you rest during the night. I'm actually a big fan of this, and I'm a really good sleeper. It's CX2wristband.com, and we're actually talking about women in sports this hour, which is a conversation I am absolutely not qualified to be speaking about, and I will just say that. However, I will also mention that a lot of professional athletes do use the products of the sponsors of our show, CX2wristband.com. And on every episode, we love to end the show with a TV Guestpert. And this week, we are pleased to have Dr. Phil Dembo on the program. Dr. Phil, we call him the real Phil. That's R-E-E-L, Phil, because he's really good on television. Dr. Phil, thank you so much for joining us. And you coach and was it appropriate to say give therapy? You're not an athletic coach, but you counsel a lot of sports families, sports wives, and professional athletes.
Right. Hi, Jacquie. How are you?
Great, Phil. Thanks so much. It feels nice to have the conversation because I am so way out of my league on this show. I'll just admit that.
We do. I do a lot of coaching, what we call life coaching, and some therapy when necessary with both athletes and their families around some of the things your other guests were talking about in terms of sort of the whole life experience of being an athlete and what that means and how that's actually different than maybe some other kind of professions or some other kind of efforts.
I have witnessed people growing up in sports, and I will use the word witness because I haven't participated in much, but it's a totally different life track. The whole, peak performance, athletic ability, it's just a different life track.
Well, it really is, but it's a different track, but the people who do it well actually try to balance it no different than you and I in the worlds that we live in. It's just something you have to be humble to and allow for in terms of if you're on every Sunday in the NFL, or if you're preparing for the Super Bowl, as some people are preparing for the Super Bowl this coming Sunday, when you're in that process, you're in the same process as my preparation to do a speech or your preparation maybe to do a presentation. The difference is the scrutiny, the amount of people looking in on them and the amount of second guessing if all their preparation doesn't lead to an outcome that people are expecting.
Yeah, I would imagine that's a little bit of pressure. We're the Super Bowl weekend, and and there was I don't know if it's a myth or a truth, but they said that, or it's been in the zeitgeist, that domestic abuse is on the rise on Super Bowl weekends.
Well, all the research would suggest that is a myth.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, but let's take a look at that. If you look at the Super Bowl and viewership, and this is why they say this, is that last year 106.5 million viewers just in America, just in the United States, watched the Super Bowl. Okay, so the finals of Wimbledon last year had 2.6 million viewers, and the last game of the World Series had 14 million viewers. We're talking 106 million viewers. So these are millions and millions and millions of Super Bowl parties all around our country where people are together, people are drinking, the stakes are high, everyone is rooting for somebody, and when you add that mix, whatever the true dynamics between people come out in more of an extreme version. So if there's domestic violence between people, if you have a couple who are violent in some way and have that dynamic and that energy between the two of them, what you actually have is you have this incubator for the potential. There's a study done that I was looking at the other day that says that during the Super Bowl, a man with heart problems has 3 times the possibility of having a heart attack because of the intensity of rooting for his team, but a woman has 2 times the possibility if she has heart problems. So everybody is heightened and into this issue.
That's really a lot of adrenaline going on Super Bowl Sunday is what that sounds like to me.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a lot of adrenaline. We were, the whole show we've been talking about basically women in sports, and there's NFL has a clothing line coming out for sports. There's now more female sports reporters involved in the process, which is pretty much new. We're going to take a commercial break. Dr. Phil, when we come back, we maybe can get your way in on that subject. I'm Jackie Jordan, presented by TVGuestpert.com, sponsored by CX2wristband.com, and we'll be right back.
The Jackie Jordan Show with host Jackie Jordan on TVGuestpert.com. Radio KZSB, 1290 AM Santa Barbara and worldwide.
Desperate for changing, starving for truth.
Alex Detail was a child genius who saved the world from the evil harvesters. But a decade later, this mysterious alien force has returned, and Alex is no longer a prodigy. Now, in order to save the world again, he must survive his kidnapping, fight his evil clone, and get his ship to the planet Pluto, where he will uncover the universe's ultimate power. Alex Detail's Revolution, a thrilling new novel by Darren Campo. Buy online or wherever books are sold.
The Jackie Jordan Show, presented by TVGuestpert.com on News Press Radio KZSB 1290 AM Santa Barbara.
Hi, I'm Jackie Jordan, wrapping up the hour, hosted here by TVGuestpert.com and sponsored by CX2wristband.com. It's Super Bowl weekend. We always wrap the hour up with the TV Guestpert, and today we are thrilled to have psychologist and life strategist, Dr. Phil Dembo. We like to call him the real Phil. And you can tune in to Dr. Phil on The Parent Coach, which he hosts weekly, Thursdays at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 10 a.m. Central Time on healthylife.net. And you can also check him out at coachinglifestrategies.com. We've been talking all hour about the DNA code that I missed out on, which is the sports code for women to talk about sports. But there's definitely, an acceptance of women fans and women reporters, and we had Bonnie Jill Laflin on, who's the first NBA female scout. What's your observation?
Well, I think it's been an amazing transformation the last 30 years, and I think the next decade moving forward is really going to blow the door open for women in sports. I think, it's not unusual now to see a woman on SportsCenter on ESPN or hear about women reporters on the sidelines. You're going to see that in the Super Bowl as well. But I think there's still this other issue, and this other issue of safety for women and respect for women in sports. When you have,
Thanks for bringing that up, because that didn't really come up in this conversation, but there's a lot of that. So please go ahead with that.
Well, just recently, Brett Favre was implicated in a situation when he actually played the year with the New York Jets, where a massage therapist was being sort of propositioned by him. He sent some pictures, apparently or allegedly, across through his cell phone of his genital area, propositioning her, and she sued the New York Jets, and she sued him, and he got a slap on the wrist from the NFL commissioner, and it's now a private matter. But the reality is that women who want to work in the world of sports, in the world of professional sports, still have that unsafety about being a professional versus being a female.
Right.
And I think that issue is going to have to be attended to. In the Super Bowl, this particular Super Bowl coming up, the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the team both of your previous guests picked to win the Super Bowl, Ben Roethlisberger, missed the first 4 games of the season because he was suspended because of some inappropriate behavior based on his position with women in a bar in the off season, where he's got a lawsuit going on there. So again, there's this issue of the ability for a male athlete to do whatever they want to do, and for women to have to tolerate it and deal with it, which means they really must want to work in the area of sports in order to sort of tolerate all of this as they move through their career. It's really important psychologically, I think, for us to understand what that really means, the intention of having to tolerate that. And I think that's a big deal. It's a real big deal in our culture, that women still are often seen as second to men in certain careers. And although there's strides being made, I think it's really relevant to speak to this.
I'm really, really glad that you brought that up, because I think those are really important issues to discuss, and I think it's just a great pause for us to wrap up the show. Real quickly, again, the show is called, your show, Dr. Phil, Dembo,
Yes.
is called The Parent Coach.
Yes.
And it's on healthylife.net, Thursdays at 8 a.m. Pacific time and 10 p.m. And we can also check you out at coachinglifestrategies.com.
Absolutely.
And you've got an upcoming book, too?
We have an upcoming book that hopefully will be out this fall. Look for it. It is being pre-ordered on Amazon.com by the same name, The Parent Coach. And it really is speaking about the whole issue of parenting integrity in children and making sure that we're raising a conscience as we raise a child.
Excellent work. If you'd like to know more about Dr. Phil Dembo as well, you can also check his profile out at tvguestpert.com. Thanks to Stephanie, Dylan, Richard for putting together this show. And I'm Jackie Jordan, hosted here by tvguestpert.com. Have a great day.
Let's get it started. Running and running and running and running and running and running.